In this video, I want to talk about some unique news in the ride-sharing world where the FTC is now suing Uber. You can see right here that the FTC is suing Uber, alleging deceptive Uber One charges and cancellations. And this is something which is interesting. I've gotten a lot of comments about on this channel as I've done a few videos already about Uber One. And being honest, Uber One, in my opinion, isn't as good as it used to be. And especially right now, it's pretty much not worth it, right? And even more so, you can see here that the big thing that they're suing them about is the billing and cancellation practices in the Uber One subscription service. They're alleging that the company charged customers for Uber One, a service for fee-free delivery and discounts on rides, which I'll talk about a bit later in this video in terms of the nitty-gritty, but they did so without their consent and made it too difficult for them to cancel despite the company's quote-unquote cancel anytime marketing. Going down here, Americans are tired of getting signed up for unwanted subscriptions that seem impossible to cancel. And we've all been there with a lot of other subscription models and services where there's weird fine prints and terms, and it's near impossible just to cancel or figure out how to cancel. Incredibly annoying. Now, as you can imagine, Uber did push back against the allegations. We are disappointed that the FTC chose to move forward with this action, but we are confident that the courts will agree with what we already know. Uber One's sign-up and cancellation processes are clear, simple, and follow the letter and spirit of the law. Tough to say exactly because I've gotten a lot of comments on this channel on those Uber One videos of people saying, hey, Mark, it was very difficult for me to cancel, or I did cancel, but they still charged me, and a lot more. Uber does not sign up or charge consumers without their consent, and cancellations can now be done anytime in-app and takes most people 20 seconds or less. That could be potentially true in terms of like maybe they switched up the GUI or how you do it on the interface. No matter what though, it's still annoying that they're still making it more complicated. And even more so, let's go down here. The FTC alleged that Uber also failed to deliver promised savings for the Uber One subscription. Though customers were promised a savings of $25 a month, Uber does not account for the cost of the subscription, $10 a month, when calculating those savings, so it seemed a bit misleading overall. Consumers were also allegedly enrolled without their consent and were charged before the billing date. The lawsuit used an example of consumers who said they signed up for a free trial and then were automatically charged before the free trial ended. Now, I gotta be honest, and as you can imagine, I 100% side with the FTC on this one, mainly because I've done a bunch of videos, like I said, about Uber One and even Lyft Pink. Lyft Pink is kind of the similar thing to Uber One. And in case you didn't know, Uber One is a subscription service. So you pay $10 a month, and the idea is you get discounts on rides, Uber Eats, and more. Now, back in the day, the way Uber One worked, which I thought was actually a good idea, back in the day, I want to stress, back in the day, is you spend that $10 a month and you got a discount on rides right up front. It was about 5%, if I remember correctly, 5% discount on rides. And I remember if I did the math out from last time, I think something like if you spent $200 or more on Ubers, it saved you money, right? And for a lot of people, they take Uber to and from work. Like say you're going out a lot to, like say, the bars and the nightclubs. Like say, for whatever reason, you just use Uber in general. If you're spending $200 or more in a month, it is worth it. And you're saving money and it's a great deal. Plus, like say if you use Uber Eats a lot, of course, an even better deal because a lot of Uber Eats restaurants under Uber Eats, you get a $0 delivery fee. That can very quickly add up to well more than $10 a month if you look at it like, I mean, delivery fees can be what? Anywhere between $1 and $3 or $4. So after just 3 or 4 orders, you're already saving money. So at first, Uber One seemed worth it. But then over time, and I don't know why, I noticed that Uber One started to get more sketchy. That's the only way I can word it, where these kind of things that I'm reading about now that I just showed you were comments I got on this channel for the past couple years of people saying, hey, yeah, I did a free trial, but I couldn't cancel it. They charged me when they said they wouldn't. They charged me too early. They made it very difficult to cancel. They said that I canceled, but they still charged me. Like all these stories I'm hearing about in these comments. So this isn't anything new, right? And then when I think about the way Uber One works now, in case you didn't know, it's really weird. Like if I had to pick, and I have no dog in the race here, I'll be honest, Uber One versus Lyft Pink, for example, with Lyft Pink, I think it's a way better deal because you get that discount on the ride. With Uber One now, it's changed and it seems a bit messed up. I did a video, I'll post it in the description below, about is Uber One worth it in 2025? And my answer was no, because they changed their model. Now you get 6% discounts on rides. So it's a percent higher, but you get it in cash back. So when you're spending this $10 a month, you have to pay the normal price of that Uber. You're not getting any savings per se. And then after you take that Uber, you get 6% back in Uber credit. You don't get cash back, you get Uber credit back. And an even bigger catch is, which to me is so annoying when I read the fine print and did a video about it, like I said, it's in the description. In the fine print, it states this. Like say you're doing Uber One for 6 months. You're getting all this Uber credit back that you could use towards Uber Rides or Uber Eats or whatever. And then let's say you cancel. You're like, you know what? I'm done with my Uber One membership. I'm just not using Uber enough. All that credit that you gained from Uber One goes away and you can't use it. So it's kind of this odd thing where you're like, wait a minute, I'm paying money. I get cash back afterwards, or credit back afterwards, excuse me, is a way better way to word that. I get credit back afterwards, but then I have to use the credit while I'm still paying for the Uber One membership, and if I cancel the membership, I lose all the credit. Doesn't really seem as worth it as well. Now, I want to say, if you're using Uber all the time, and I can't remember what the math came out to be when I did that video. I think it was like $170 a month. I'm rounding. That might not be exact. If you're spending $170 a month or more on Ubers, and you're always using Uber, there is some situations where Uber One is worth it. And like I said, with Uber Eats, I think there's a lot of situations where if you use Uber Eats a lot, Uber One can be worth it, right? Although I will say, like I mentioned in that video when I talked about it for 2025, it does, kind of soft lock you into that. Sometimes Lyft is way cheaper than Uber, but if you have Uber One, you're like, shoot, well, I want to take Lyft, but I have this Uber One membership, might as well use Uber. And two, I feel like for me, I did try Uber One before. I did try it. And I remember I was more likely to use Uber Eats. So if I noticed for me, I actually ended up spending more money. Even though, I was getting a discount, put that in quotation marks, I was actually spending more money. It's kind of like that thing, I don't know if you've seen this when it comes to Black Friday deals, that like, let's say TV costs $1,000. And then for Black Friday, you get a deal with 50% off. And you buy a new TV for only $500. You didn't save $500. You still spent $500. Does that make sense? Like, you're still spending money, and like, you save money theoretically, but you still went out of your way to buy something maybe you would have not bought otherwise because you saw that discount or that deal. Same thing with Uber One, right? And obviously, jumping back to the point of this video about the nitty-gritty of Uber One, I just don't think it's as worth it at all anymore. And this is something that is very frustrating. And I feel like, I gotta be honest, I'm kind of glad they're doing this. One, because there's a lot of deceptive things Uber does, especially regarding Uber One. But two, I feel like this is not, and this could be a whole other subject for a different video, but let's mention it. I think this is something that a lot of us are kind of, I hate to say it, somewhat used to. There's a lot of programs out there, a lot of companies, a lot of subscription models that are just very difficult to cancel. I've seen some that you can't cancel it on the phone. You can't cancel it via text. You cannot cancel it via the website. You have to like email them and do all this whole, like, it's a very, very long, drawn out process. And it does seem very deceptive, and it is very deceptive, because it almost is this thing where they're like, okay, we're going to make it as hard as possible to cancel just so we make sure that people maybe get halfway to canceling. They're like, you know what, forget it, right? This is why I suggest to a lot of people as well, I want to say this as a side note, make sure you use a credit card when it comes to a lot of subscription models. That way, let's say if there is a deceptive practice, if it is that difficult to cancel, you could just cancel it on your credit card, block it from your credit card. And then that way you're like, okay, I'll let the company do whatever they want to do. Like, again, this is not meant to be legal or accounting advice, so might as well say that. But I do want to say that as a quick side note. I suggest use a credit card as much as you can. It makes things a bit better in these situations. But overall, this is something I will say that I've seen, like I said, a lot in these comments. And I'm kind of glad the FTC is now actually going after Uber when it comes to this. Because not even just with how hard it is to cancel the Uber One service, but the terms in the fine print, like I talked about, like I already did a video about, Uber One, just hate to say it, not worth it. Unless you do take Uber that much, unless you're a dedicated Uber supporter where you're using Uber all the time, that's your bread and butter of how you get around, you can save some money, and I'm not saying that you can't. So I'm not saying that Uber One's all bad, but in most situations, in my mind, not worth it.